Welcome to another edition of The Brand Called You, a video and podcast show that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom from hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Today, it is my pleasure to welcome someone I've known for some time, someone who's achieved a lot professionally and is now doing his own thing, Arvind Nair. Arvind, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ashutosh.
Arvind is from IIM Ahmedabad. He's the chairman of Carpediem Capital Partners. He has been CEO and MD for Hitachi Home, Domino's India, Jumbo Electronics, and DLF Retail Mall. Arvind, what would you say are the three key milestones in your career?
I think the first would be getting into IIM.
Okay.
Because at least let's say 30, 40 years back, to break into an organization and get someone to give you responsibility,
Correct.
you needed a stamp.
Yep.
And I think IIM was a great stamp. So I think that probably was the first possible.
And which batch of IIM are you from?
I passed out in 1979.
Oh, so you and I are the same vintage.
Oh, right. So that I would think is the first major milestone. The second was I got the opportunity to be a CEO very early. Small company, difficult situation. That was Amtrix at that time, Amtrix Hitachi later. But it was a great opportunity. I was working with a very, inspired promoter in Sanjay Lalbhai. And he gave so much of room to experiment, to try different things. And it was a great learning ground. I think it grew from like 8 crores to 250 crores, but it is great working and building an organization. So I think that was the second one. And the third would be Domino's, because Domino's was my first international brand. And again, in a very difficult situation, the company had, was like a BIFR, all its equity was wiped out. And it was a new sector, just emerging in India. Nothing was defined. And a lot of scope to invent and, create and build. And that was an awesome experience.
Very fascinating. So let's talk a little bit about Domino's, since you mentioned. Domino's, as you just said, had become almost a sick company. And yet a few years later, I was reading somewhere the market cap of Domino's India was greater than the market cap of the global company.
For a brief while.
What was it that you did that was so different?
I think that the most important thing in bringing any international brand to India is to adapt the brand to the Indian consumer profile. It includes many things.
Correct.
In India, for example, real estate is nearly as expensive as the real estate in the US.
Correct.
But the per capita, how much they can afford to spend per pizza, way different. I mean, in India, $2 is like a lot of money, right? In the US, the average pizza is $10 and nobody worries about it. The third thing is the whole culture. Pizza was seen as a snack. So you have to convert it from a snack to a meal. And it was a snack for children.
Yeah.
There are a lot of ways in which you got to adapt the product to suit the local market. You can't just do whatever has been done anywhere else and make it work here. You also can't have the kind of stores they have. They got stores like 1,200 square feet. And here you have to try and reduce your rent. So you go to look at 800, 850 square feet.
Correct.
So the little bit of redesigning of the store, redesigning of the menu, redesigning of the pricing. One good thing we have is volumes.
Correct.
So the idea is to make the ticket size smaller, volumes larger, higher throughput, to redesign the whole economics. India is a huge country, so you've got to plan your logistics cost to suit that. It doesn't work to have one store in Nagpur and one in Goa. It just kills you.
Correct. Agreed.
Those kind of stuff I think we did. And once we did that, we sorted out the model. And then what we did is we made an impossible promise, which no consumer could believe will actually happen. In
30 minutes.
30 minutes for free. I mean, a lot of objections. Domino's International said, we have stopped doing this more than 10 years back. You shouldn't start it. India, power situation, traffic situation. Board also had concerns, But that worked because people really didn't believe it's possible somebody will give such a bland, unconditional offer, 30 minutes for free. So they all tried their luck. And we worked for 1 year trying to perfect this 30-minute of free promise. And when we started delivering, people loved it.
Amazing. I agree with you. But just one more question for Domino's before I move to the next phase.
Sure.
I've often wondered, there have been so many food brands that have come into the country. The only one that seems to have survived and thrived is Domino's, and second maybe a McDonald's. I can't think of any other brand which has consistently delivered value to the consumer. What were you doing differently?
So combination of factors. Like I said, in India, real estate is more expensive.
Yeah.
So if you are going to create a value brand like McDonald's and including Pizza Hut and Domino's, I think a delivery model has the opportunity to be more cost effective than a restaurant model because you require less real estate.
Correct.
It's something that really works for people. Secondly, if you look at a pizza is designed for delivery. When a pizza comes out of an oven, it's too hot to eat. You can't eat it. It'll burn. It'll scald your mouth, right? It is perfect to eat in 10 minutes.
Correct.
So it is like God has designed it for delivery. So your real estate is more efficient. You can keep your prices very competitive, and it's a very easy product. You can open a box and eat. So we designed a model which is simple and uncomplicated. So you just open a box. But even if they come into a store to eat, we don't give them plates and forks and spoons and stuff. We give them in a box. The consumer is fine. They just pick it up in their hand and they eat it, So the whole model is very cost efficient. You can keep your prices competitive. And the advantage of pizzas is you can indigenize and you can make local flavors. A lot of, I think more than 55-60% of pizza is vegetarian, You can localize it. You can put paneer and you can put more masalas and stuff like that. So there's a combination of those factors.
Very interesting.
And of course, the last part is the financial model. Each store, if you work out the economics and make sure they break even within 1 year, then after that it is throwing cash. Then you can also funnel your growth. You don't have to keep pumping equity for growth. So I think that it's a combination of consumer interest and the financial modeling that made Domino's the success that it is.
Terrific. Wonderful. So Arvind, let's move to your new baby, the Carpediem Capital Partners.
Yes.
Before I ask you about what exactly you do in it, after such a successful corporate career, why did you start off on your own?
So there is a period where you are the guy who's doing the batting. You're the guy who's doing the running around and creating value and doing the nuts and bolts of the business, and that takes like 70-80% of your time when you're a CEO. And I've been a CEO since 91. So after being a CEO for nearly 20 odd years, I decided to go into private equity.
Okay.
Before that, I was working with one of the Goldman Sachs program on women entrepreneurs, and I was mentoring. So for me, private equity was a step up from just mentoring as a hobby to mentoring with capital. So you got a little more skin in the game. So then you are doing the fun part of the business. You are providing equity. You're consulting with them. You're partnering with them. You're mentoring them, and you're seeing young entrepreneurs grow.
Wonderful.
You are probably spending 70% of your time on the 10% of the business, which is the most fun part of the business. So I think it was a natural process.
Understand.
And I had two good partners, and we said, okay, let's go ahead and do it. So that was fun.
So tell me about Carpediem. How did you start this off? What made you start it? You already told me about what made you start. What sectors do you focus on?
So three of us got together and we decided to set up a private equity firm. We focus on consumer products and services.
Okay.
We look at budding leaders, people who we think are potential leaders in the category. So we look for new categories, and we invest in entrepreneurs with whom we have a good equation, good working equation. That means it's not that we are going to run the business for them, but it's more like we can build partnership with them. So there is a certain amount of listening for each other, I think that's very important for us. And we also work on being the first institutional investor, so that when we go there, we have a mandate. It's not a financial mandate, it's a business mandate. So we really spend quality time with every investing company. We spend anywhere between 4 to 5 days a month in a business, in one of our enterprises. So in our first fund, we raised about 204 crores. And along with co-investments, we invested around 285 crores. We made 8 investments. Fund 1 is fully invested. It has done exceedingly well. I think its gross IRR just before COVID was tracking at about 39%, which is very good.
Incredible. Yeah.
I think even after COVID, we are expecting the IRR should be well above 25%.
Mm.
And we are in the process of raising our fund too, and we are targeting to raise maybe 500 to 700 crores this time.
Amazing.
Good traction.
Amazing. Amazing. So, before you make an investment, what are the key metrics that you look for? You just said that you would want to have someone as an entrepreneur who you may have known earlier.
No,
What
not
are the other?
necessary. Not necessary.
Okay.
But person with whom there is an equation,
Okay.
You meet a person. I mean, between identifying an opportunity and actually investing, the window is as long as 6 months.
Right.
So in the 6 months, you're spending a lot of time with them.
Mm.
So we look for businesses where we think can become a potential leader. To give you an example, we have invested our first investment, a baby investment, was a company called Biryani Blues. You must be familiar with the brand.
Yeah. I interviewed the founder.
Okay.
Mm.
You know Raymond. Okay.
Mm.
So our first investment was when they had 3 stores.
Mm.
Very, very early. They had 70, they were doing some 75 lakhs odd per month.
Mm.
Now they are doing over nearly 5 crores a month.
Amazing.
And they've gone from 3 stores to nearly 40 stores, but all in NCR mostly. Now, why did we bet on them? One, because we like the promoters, good professional background. They have a commitment. They want to build a brand. Second, we think among all Indian foods, biryani will be a leader.
Okay.
Because that's the only Indian food that delivers well. Most Indian foods don't deliver well. You order puri bhaji, the puri becomes soggy, There are very few Indian foods that can deliver well. And biryani is one of them. And you can eat out of a box. You order it, open it, eat it, watch your TV or movie or whatever. And it's a great meal, right? Everything is in it. So we identified that as an opportunity. There was no particular leader in the biryani category. I think last 4 months, one of the research indicated that during COVID, during the lockdown, the most ordered food in India was biryani.
Wow.
So in a sense, it how should I say, validated our assumption that this is going to be a category that will grow. So like that. So we looked at a category where there's no particular leader. We think we can build one. Then we'll back the promoter. We'll spend time with them on strategy, on recruiting people, the whole jing bang. Yeah. But we spend quality time with them.
Very interesting. And then you mentioned, that once you made an investment, you spend, 4 to 5 days a month or 4 to 5 days a month per investment. How does a private equity investor get involved in the governance of an investee company?
Many ways. So very often the CFO is a person whom we jointly recruit and appoint. Mostly we don't need to find a CEO or CEO. Exceptions there are. Then we find a specialist in that category. If we can find if we are a specialist, then we don't find one. But let's say we invested in a company called Yantra, which is doing mobile phone repairing and refurbished mobile phones. So we then look for a person who's a specialist in the category, and we appoint him as a consultant in that business.
Okay.
So that the promoters get specialized inputs relevant to that industry. Then we spend quality time. We are on the board of all these companies. Like I said, we meet formally at least twice a month, where we review all the financials, and we participate in most key decisions, most capex decisions and stuff like that. But by and large, we don't interfere. If we disagree, then we prefer to go with whatever the promoter wants to do, because ultimately that's his baby, So, but we do express our views and we debate, and I think it's important to maintain a good relationship with them, not talk down to them.
Correct. Wonderful. So my next question is that, there'll be hundreds of people who are wanting to start up, who will watch you and me talking. At what stage, in your opinion, should a startup entrepreneur look for funding?
When they need the funding, I guess the simple answer is. But generally, you must delay looking for funding as much as you can. The earlier you raise fund, more of your equity you're giving away. So my recommendation to entrepreneurs is delay it as much as you can. That means you get an idea, test the idea, you keep your costs down, you set it up, prove the idea that it works, scale it up to a certain point. And now when you want to take the big leap, look for funding. Why? You don't want to risk all your money on the big leap if it goes wrong. Secondly, when you go with the private equity fund, very often they have already got the experience of making a small company big. So they know what the possible risks are, what the possible traps could be, what to consider. Like very often entrepreneurs are very creative. So they want to do 10 things at the same time.
Correct.
But doing 10 things at the same time doesn't create value.
Hmm.
You want to create value, you got to take one idea and become the best in it.
Hmm.
They get bored. So one of the things the private equity guys do is to keep them focused on what will create value, not what is interesting to do.
Right.
So I think that those are the kind of roles that private equity plays. And I would suggest delay it as much as you can.
Okay. Wonderful. And one last question on private equity before we move on.
Yeah.
When does the private equity investor look for an exit? Is it just value based or is it time based as well?
So normally the pattern is that you're looking for an exit around 4 years. 3 to 5 years is the kind of window, so that you would have created enough contribution, created enough wealth. But very often the exit is a function of the opportunity to exit.
Correct.
Both are important, right? Sometimes we don't exit if the interest, another investor's interest comes too early. Then we'll continue to co-invest, and like in one of our funds, which is a company called Sindhuja, which is doing microfinance.
Mm-hmm.
Within 1 year, we got a proposal, so we didn't exit. So it was a Nordic fund which wanted to invest, so we co-invested with them. We were getting literally a 50% up on within 1 year of what we had invested, but
Wow.
we stay invested like that.
Okay.
So it all depends on the timing, but normally around 4 years we start looking at exit, unless it's a platform.
Okay.
If you're creating a platform, then we'll stay invested for a longer time. We might dilute, but stay invested.
Very interesting. So, Arvind, let's move on to the next part of our chat. And this is on second innings.
Okay.
You have embarked on your second innings as a private equity investor. And when I say second innings, I'm just segmenting it in the sense that there is an age of superannuation in the corporate world, let's say 60. And then post 60, a lot of people want to start rethinking. And you've done extremely well in your Carpediem journey. But there are a lot of people like you and me who are transitioning, who haven't prepared. At what stage in one's life should one start thinking of what to do next?
Good question. I think probably when you think you have done enough of whatever you've been doing so far, and that can happen to anybody. Some people earlier, some people later. I mean, being a CEO is great fun, but after some time it becomes more of the same thing.
Correct.
Every day you're going to the same board meetings and you're doing the same performance appraisal, and then after some time you get tired. So it's better to get someone else to do it, some young blood to step in as a CEO and do it. And then you can take a more advisory, consultative kind of a... So whenever you feel you're ready for that, I think that's the time to do it. And more importantly, in your career, you would have developed a lot of skills with your experience.
Correct.
So when you design your second inning, the intention is to give. The intention is to contribute.
Right.
Whatever you've learned, whatever you've got, contribute. So that is a fundamental foundation of your second innings. That's the way I look at it.
Okay. So I've got time for a few questions for you personally.
Sure.
My first question is, such a successful career, so many years in the corporate world, great private equity startup. Where do you draw your inspiration from?
I don't know how to define where you draw your inspiration from, but I like to have fun. And for me, this is fun. I mean, I play golf. I have fun. I work. For me, developing a business and growing a business, seeing an entrepreneur grow, that is fun. I like to play bridge. That is fun. I lead seminars for an organization called Landmark. That is fun. So I think it's about living it fully.
Okay.
I don't know whether that answers your question, but it's something of that sort.
Fair
Like really go and have a blast.
Okay. Next question is, how do you set personal and professional goals?
How do I set personal and professional goals? I don't have long-term goals.
Mm-hmm.
I have short-term goals. Short-term goals could mean what I want to do in the next 1 year.
Okay.
And then it'll boil down to what I want to do today. So every day I have a list of what I want to do today. I have a schedule, but there is always a plan on today what I'm going to do, because all of life is happening today. So today I had a plan. I'm going to have a chat with you, and then 6 o'clock we were playing golf. Then I got something else in the afternoon. Every day I have something planned. I may not accomplish all of it, but it is there. So yeah.
My next question to you is that if you, Arvind, were a role model to millions of children who closely followed your life choices,
Yeah.
what is the one thing you would change in yourself?
One thing which I took a long time to discover is I always had this drive to prove myself.
Okay.
If I were to relive my life, I would give that up.
Okay.
This drive to prove yourself comes in the way of paying attention to what you're doing.
Mm.
You know, if you can be free of that, you have nothing to prove.
Okay.
There is more freedom in life.
Correct.
Nothing to prove. Do what you love to do and give it your everything. But if you're focused on, you want to prove yourself, then one eye is on the outcome and one eye is on the action. Instead of that, put both your eye on the action. I think you'll not only enjoy doing it, but you'll probably be more effective. That's one thing that I have learned for myself.
Well said. Well said. My next question is, what does success mean to you?
I mean, at the end of the day, you had a fun day.
Hmm.
You really had a fun day. You enjoyed yourself.
Okay.
It was a blast. So I think that is success. So it is like, how should I put it? Instead of looking at success as something, again, same thing, proving yourself, as a place to reach, why not be successful and participate in whatever you're doing?
Okay.
I mean, there is so much to acknowledge, right? If you look around,
Correct.
you and I are blessed people. I mean, how much time do we spend acknowledging how blessed we are?
Correct.
Yeah, so something like that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know if it makes sense, but
No, it makes everything that you said, these are your answers and all of them make sense. I've got time for two more questions for you.
yeah.
What would you say are 3 words that describe you?
3 words.
3 adjectives.
So 3 adjectives. So one is I'm relentless.
Mhm.
I don't give up.
Mhm.
I have clarity.
Mhm.
Whatever I'm doing, I'm very clear. Do or not do. Either I have a view, and if I have a view, it's clear, or I don't have a view.
Okay.
There is no concern of clarity.
Okay.
And third would be I'm very fair.
Okay.
For me, fairness is a very significant virtue.
Okay. All great words. All great words. Thank you. And my last question to you, and I come back to the pandemic.
Yeah.
My question to you is that how are you rethinking your life in the new world order?
As in a post-pandemic or generally?
Post-pandemic.
So, the pandemic has taught us a lot of new lessons, right? I must tell you, the last 6 months nearly have been probably the best 6 months in my life.
Correct.
It's a little weird to say that, considering there are so many people who have fallen sick and stuff like that. But I've discovered so many new things, so many more efficient ways of doing stuff, which frankly, I was such a creature of habit. I have to go to office and I have to meet people, and I go to board meeting. Actually, it's not necessary. Today, I'm on the board of a company in Dubai. For 2 days board meeting, you have to fly and you're going to stay for 2 nights. Now we do board meetings, not every quarter. We can do a board meeting on the drop of a hat. We can do it every month.
Yeah.
Every 2 weeks we can have a board meeting if some issue comes up. And it will be only for 3 hours. And the meeting is over in 3 hours. And 5 minutes later, I'm having lunch with my wife. I don't have to go to the airport, catch a flight. So quality of life has improved dramatically. I've learned so many new things in this period because there's so much of time. I learned what is it called, Sudarshan Kriya, pranayam technique. I did a 1-month course on Shivanand Ashram's yoga. So I'm a qualified yoga teacher. I don't know who I'm going to teach, but I'm a qualified yoga teacher. Last 3 months I've learned bridge. So there are so many new things you're discovering you can do, and I spend quality time with my wife and my mother. She's 94, which wouldn't have happened. So I think it's taught us a lot. I don't think anything is going back to normal. I mean, there's nothing called normal. This is a new normal.
Correct.
So I think everyone has the opportunity to deal with the circumstance. I mean, the circumstance is the circumstance.
Correct.
It is better for you to deal with it rather than talk about it.
Absolutely.
Talking about it is not going to change anyway. But if you deal with it, you'll create a new reality. So that's what I discovered.
Well said. Well said. Arvind, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure speaking to you.
Lovely talking to you, Ashutosh. Take care. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the brand called You Videocast and Podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the brand called You.